Hello everyone, good afternoon. This is Andrew Kircher with Port Huron Museums. Got a special little program for you today, one that I am pretty excited about actually. We are at the Schwonk Soundstead. So this is, been talking about doing this one for a little while. This is one of these ones that we put out there. I'm always asking, who would like to, let me just, doesn't seem to want to cooperate. So this is one of these sites that I always kind of ask for recommendations. This is one that came up. We're talking with Brendan over here that we're going to meet in just a second, who told me about this really cool building. It's one that I walk past a lot. I'm sure many of you have seen it. You can't tell already from, the address. I'm going to flip things around. So we are here at the corner of 7th and Griswold. All right, so Griswold, the one-way street's heading this way. And we're right here at the corner with the Schwonk Soundstead. And here's Brandon over here. We've been talking just a little bit. Why don't you can introduce yourself to the folks.
Hi there, I'm Brendan Pierce. I'm owner and operator and resident of the Schwonk Soundstead here in beautiful downtown Fort Huron.
Yeah, so this is a really cool building. We were talking about it. It's an American Foursquare. Mm-hmm. It's a corn belt cube. And what year did you say this was?
1914 was the completion year.
1914, and it looks like a pretty...
Marx Brothers, I believe, of Port Huron. So.
Not the other Marx Brothers. Yeah. So yeah, it looks like, you've done a lot. Why don't you walk us around the outside? You were telling me a cool story about the coal chute over here.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of a neat original feature. So a lot of people have probably driven, past this. I know we're going to talk a little bit about the paint scheme here. But this is something I didn't notice. They pointed this out to me.
So back in the day, I guess a horse and buggy would pull up and they'd open this up and shovel coal directly into the basement. And actually in the basement you can see where there used to be a dividing wall probably to house all the coal. And they probably had some sort of coal boiler.
Giant big coal furnace. Yeah, exactly right.
They just would shovel it, shovel it directly.
And not something you want to bring in, down the front steps.
Right.
So you have one of these kind of neat little coal chutes right in the side. I love that the paint job here matches the rest of the house.
Right.
And that was the one other thing we talked about. I love, the paint job because it's a brick home. You don't usually see a lot of colors.
Right.
With brick homes like this. So the few colors you had is a bold choice. Yes. I like it.
I gave the painter some artistic freedom. I gave him, generally, green, maybe orange.
Green and orange.
That's what we got.
Yeah, so why don't we maybe walk around once and then you can tell us. So it's this isn't just a typical home. So tell us a little bit more about the Soundstead, something that I'll be honest, I'm probably in the dark as many of the viewers are about something.
Well, basically I purchased the home in summer of 2011 and have myself and a handful of cast of characters or roommates have lived here throughout the years, but it kind of developed into a part-time DIY historic house / music venue where I would randomly host independent musicians, whether it's singer-songwriters or bands. That kind of run their own tours, and they would stop by and play shows in the living room and dining room.
Sure.
So did that for a few years, and then I met my buddy Randy Willis, who we kind of shared ethos and kind of being geeks about audio engineering, audio production, how records are made, gear, acoustics, microphones, all that stuff. So we kind of joined forces and our equipment to also turn the house into a recording studio. So we took one of the bedrooms upstairs, ripped up the carpet, redid the wood floors, put up some acoustical treatments, and turned it into a bona fide control room. So over the years we've been able to host performances, record bands, and then those bands can either have their record release show here. It's like we're a small little art incubator startup for local musicians.
It's a one-stop shop. Like all of those things going on at the same place. That's also like right here in an otherwise pretty, normal neighborhood. This is not what a lot of people would expect maybe to see that their neighbor's house was a recording studio.
Right. And definitely made some improvements over the years. Of course in 1914 there was no insulation put in the walls. So not long after moving in, I opted to get spray foam insulation put in, which is why you see those little dots.
Yeah, so we can see those.
So on Christmas Eve, they literally, I think it was, not long after I moved in here, a crew of guys showed up with drills and were literally just drilling holes into the mortar and then putting tubes in. But within hours, the house went from R0 to R14. So not only does that help thermally, keeping it cool in the summer and warm in the winter, but also from a sound standpoint, people out here hear less of what's happening inside, and we hear less of what's happening outside.
Which is what you want in a recording studio.
There's
right?
a better divide there, a respectful divide for our neighbors.
I'm sure the neighbors appreciate that if you have a real loud rock band.
Yeah, and I admit, in the very early years, we actually had a band from the UK called 52 Commercial Road, and they were an amazing band, and they were very, very loud though, and that was before I had the insulation. And admittedly, the cops came once or twice and said, this can't happen.
Too loud.
They'd be real quiet, and then they'd build up like this crescendo, and they get real loud, and then they get quiet again. So the time the cops show up, they're like playing this beautiful part, and they're like, okay, no problem. And they leave, and then 5 minutes later, whoosh, and then they come back and be like, what is going on here? So
that's also really cool. You've had international artists playing here. It's not just
France,
local
UK,
folks.
Yep, and even some local, I guess, legends. There's a duo called Warren Treaty, and they actually were they opened up one of the Grammy shows recently, and now they're on tour opening for someone pretty famous. I can't remember now, but they played here once, and immediately afterwards, it was almost like they blew up, and it's like I'll never get.
They won't come back.
That'll never happen again. So there's been like little.
Have you used that as your hook to get other folks saying like, hey, I've made some other people's careers.
I've name dropped them here and there, saying, we were able to capture some lightning in a bottle. I'm in there with my phone recording this guy just sing his heart out and tell some pretty amazing stories as a singer, someone who served in the Iraq War and then came back and, even played on Saddam Hussein's piano and just some incredible stuff. But yeah, lots of different types of eclectic range of musicians have played here.
I'm just getting a better view of the whole building here. We're also talking about there's a lot of original windows here, which is neat. I like the kind of two little bay windows on the front. That's a really nice, not only is it a nice splash of color, but gives it a little bit of, my favorite name for these American forest squares is the Corn Belt Cube. When sometimes they can be, if you don't even get a front porch, they're very much just a cube. Right. But this one's got some personality to it, which I think is really neat. So yeah, if we want to take a look, you said we can take a peek inside, which I think is a real special treat. We look at a lot of the exteriors of homes.
Yeah, something that amazed me when I walked in was the craftsmanship of the woodwork and how pristine it is still. So I've definitely been trying to keep it up as much as I can.
This is gorgeous.
So yeah, in the foyer here, we have a piano that came with the house, and I actually had it tuned. So we actually have used it in the studio once or twice. Of course, full disclosure, during the pandemic, I started collecting action figures, so that's the story behind that.
We've got everything from RoboCop to C-3PO.
Oh yeah,
pretty cool.
So yeah, and over here is the living room or the den. Which actually has become a tracking space, rehearsal space, / when we have shows, which we're about to reopen for in-person shows next month. We were closed due to COVID, and during so we were doing streaming and all that. But this is typically where the audience is, and this is where the stage is.
So how many people might you have for a show? Because it's not a traditional space.
Yeah,
so.
Over the years, typically it's small and intimate. I'd say average of maybe 20, 30 people. We've had small shows with as little as maybe 5 or 10 people, but we've also had shows over the years, some local bands that don't even exist anymore. They grew up and, you know, go to college and everything, but we've had some nights where you know, we've had a fair amount of people in here. So we have people hanging out here, the audience, and then almost like the kitchen is like, I guess,
overflow seating.
Yeah, backstage, side stage. So, and then over the years we've added acoustical panels and treatments to help tame the echoes in the room, and really just try to make it just a intimate but a really good experience as far as like sound quality and everything. So you can't fit a lot of people in here, and sometimes the sight lines are not great with this kind of setup here, and we've even had bands on this side as well. But
sure, you can be pretty flexible
but
with it.
With the I think with the atmosphere and what we do with the sound and the lighting and the types of acts we get in here, it's been a joy to do.
Let's see. Krantz Steven asks, what kind of wood is all of it?
Oh,
that's a good question.
I was actually talking to my buddy about that. He's been working with wood lately. He thinks it's pine.
I think I'd agree with him.
Yeah, he thinks it's pine because it seems to be on the softer side, and I guess around that time, that would be the wood.
It's right in the middle of like the arts and crafts movement, which is very much like, oh, it's okay to not use mahogany or cherry or these upper woods. Like, there's nothing wrong with pine, and you can show pine for what it is, which I think is how you get a lot of these like kind of striations and the really kind of deep color.
These built-ins too, which is perfect for us because we can store cables,
you got lots of audio equipment,
microphone and gizmos, and so it's really nice.
Are these shelves or these?
These are fake walls that we made to where, because sometimes we have recording sessions, so we'll have a band spread across this first floor, but for the sake of recording. So if you think back to like the old days of the Beatles and Abbey Road, they have little dividers. They could be standing right next to each other, so you can get your visual cues. You're wearing headphones and you got a fake wall or a baffle that's helping stop the sound so that your microphones are isolated.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
Organ or Rhodes, whatever, drums. So you kind of, since this is, sometimes we're recording, sometimes we're practicing, if we're having a band in to record, we'll use these fake walls and actually build dividers in the room and have their amplifiers tucked in the corners, but then the musicians can come out and have line of sight with everyone, but then we have
when to take your cues and all that. That makes a lot of sense.
So this is kind of our Lego set to build it into a studio.
That makes a ton of sense.
Yep.
Obviously an original fireplace over here as well. I like the kind of like egg and dart type. This is like brick.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And
so this right here is molded like masonry brick.
Yeah. And I don't know how original this is, but it's
been there a while.
Yeah, it's in the wall, and there's like
it's like a fresco then.
Yeah, and this frame is molded into the wall as well.
Well, that's certainly unique.
So you can tell when they painted, they just kind of came to this point and they stopped. They're like,
I like these paintings of the house.
And that's another thing.
It's like a pooch in front of the house.
That's another thing. I mean, all the years I've been here, I've constantly heard stories from other that saying, I used to live here.
Someone just commented just now. A gal named Jessica said, I used to live here.
Yep.
I noticed some of the murals may have been painted over. Although I did notice looks like there were murals in here.
Yeah, there's some mural work back here too. So I don't know the timing of this, but it's it's almost like you're in a thicket or like in the brush or something. There's like
it's very naturalistic.
Plant work. And it looks painted. I don't think it's wallpaper or anything. So.
Yeah, that could be right on.
But yeah, I mean, exactly. Just like the person who commented, I'm always hearing stories.
And one of the other things I'm amazed to hear right now, we can hear there's somebody else playing in the house.
Yep.
Clearly some rock and roll music.
Yep.
So, but it sounds like everything is so isolated. Like, I don't even know if you guys can pick this up on the stream. Like, I can kind of feel it more than hear it.
Yeah, he's like directly above over there.
So yeah.
So yeah, there's just a little quirks and features. Another neat thing is the original laundry chute, or all this woodwork here. But you have the laundry chute, which the previous owner used to run new electrical, but I also used to run either microphone cables or video cables, or if you know, someone's down in the basement wanting to get weird reverb, we can run a microphone down there. So it's a nice little feature that we also use to help out the studio, and also I sometimes throw dirty kitchen towels down there.
Right, it's still functional.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love a lot of this.
Yeah.
You know, some of the moldings that
mean,
are all still original here.
Even the like if you go into the bedrooms, the inside of the closet has this molding. I mean, nowadays you're lucky if they square off the drywall.
Right. Exactly.
And I think possibly this was an addition. I'm not sure, because I don't know if there would have been a bathroom here, or maybe this was all kitchen and they converted this to bathroom, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, it could kind of go either way with something kind of small like that.
Mm-hmm. And
I mean, certainly in the city, 1914, they're going to have indoor bathrooms. You know,
right.
Plumbing had been here for a while.
Here's the gas tap. So they may have not have had electricity right away. So there's these little nubs, which I have been told where they used to have a lamp hooked in.
Yeah, gas
and
light.
They would open the valve and literally just light it.
I know, it's pretty crazy to think of that. And you also see how many houses burned down to use, you know, gas light. Although,
and then of course electricity was knob and tube, which I got all that removed, thankfully.
Yeah, knob and tube can be a real hit or miss. I know. The problem with knob and tube, it heats up. If you have any insulation, you know, you mentioned you added insulation. Now, that's what cooks the knob and tube. That's what's going to cause your house to burn down.
Gotcha.
You know, if you don't have any insulation, it's just out there. It needs to basically have nothing around it. It's air-cooled. It's air-cooled wiring, which is pretty crazy to think about. So it looks like another more gorgeous built-in here as well.
Cabinetry here.
This is a nice kitchen for sure.
Yeah. More built-in shelving, large closet, which we're probably going to turn in maybe to a vocal booth or a place to store equipment.
Okay.
I reclaimed this from I moved all the kitties to my fiance's place, so.
That's fair.
And there's a separate stairway too. I guess maybe you would call that the servant entrance, or
Yeah, you know, this would have been kind of right on the tail end of that, but certainly could be to have, you know, a separate servant stairs.
Right. I just love having
two ways up. Yeah.
Upstairs, yeah. Especially helps when you're moving large furniture upstairs. But yeah, that's the whole first floor. I mean, it's constantly changing what it's. Well, like I said, we were closed for years due to COVID, and we're due to open early next month for our first in-person performance. Since then, so yeah, we'll be taking all this out of here, rearranging it so it's open for the house as much people as we can comfortably.
I even like some of the things that are some of the features, like the doorknob here.
Yep,
and,
a lot of the original.
You know, one of my favorite marks of distinction for an old house. You can tell a quality home sometimes based on the number of hinges in a door.
Oh.
So, you know, there's 3 hinges on this door, which tells you, like, you know.
Gotcha.
And you always want to put your top priority on your front doors. We can even look, you know, they're plain hinges, but that's pretty common for, you know, arts and crafts movement. Those front doors, these public spaces, those are always the ones that you want to have, you know, be the nicest. It's your, you know, first impression, as it were, to anyone coming in your house. Your bedroom closet, that might only have 2 hinges, but by the time somebody sees that, they're probably your friend anyway, and they don't care. But
yeah, and like I said, over the years, having, you know, so many guests, musicians and patrons and recording clients and tenants, the place needed a refreshing, so I actually hired a local cleaning service, Lavender Girls, to come in and just because the sheer scale of this place, I forget about, you know.
Oh, there's lots of places for dust to hang out.
Just COVID alone, I was just wiping all this with wood cleaner. But yeah, I mean, they really helped me out. So yeah, we can take a quick look at the control room.
Oh, all right.
So it's American Foursquare, and there's 4 bedrooms.
And this is really neat. I guess I didn't realize this is like a split passage stairway,
Yeah,
which is
connects.
really kind of unique. I haven't seen anything quite like that.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
And this room has a neat feature. When you close all the doors, it's like an octagon.
Yeah, I guess.
So there's 4 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and then that is the way up to the attic. And then there's a closet. So there's just lots of doors.
That makes a lot of sense. So yeah, I could definitely see the love for older recording equipment.
Yep. So we have a microphone snake that runs all the way up here. It's downstairs, and so we can plug in our microphones and whatnot. And it leads up here to this room, which is one of the bedrooms that we kind of reclaimed and just decided to turn it into a full-time control room, and added like some professional sound paneling. Bought myself my very first new couch back when our van was still open. Rest in peace, Art Van.
The late Art Van, the late loves.
But yeah, it's there was carpet in these bedrooms. Well, there still is in the other ones, but we ripped up the carpet, the padding, redid this wood floor, and yeah, got a nice piece of furniture and got a big old mixer in here.
Yeah, that's
yeah. We like to be able to. Our specialty seems to be recording, like tracking bands live, so we can get the full band set up downstairs, isolated, comfortable. And and just let them just.
Do you ever like send a video up this way so you're able to see them while you're doing that at the same time?
Yep. Yeah, we'll sometimes run webcams so that we can get a visual reference. Like I mentioned earlier, when we were closed for shows, we were streaming, so we just utilized the studio as it is. Set up the bands downstairs.
Just sans audience.
Just set up the same way, just without an audience. Add a couple more microphones for drums and guitars, and we were able to make the mix up here, run everything up here, have a nice audio mix, and then send it out to the internet, and also with the video feed too. So.
Well, Thomas Edison would be proud, I think.
Mary had a little lamb on extreme proportions.
Right, exactly. There's no one, screaming into a wax cylinder here. This is some next level stuff.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing this with us. Beautiful radiator over there as well.
Another thing I had to kind of update throughout the years. I mean, the boiler is very old and the piping and the radiator's all original, but I definitely had to make some other.
Well, sure. Anytime you have a building that's over a century old. Yeah. So how do people find out more about Schwonk Soundstage? Do you have a Facebook page, a website? How would you tell people who maybe saw this snippet and are like, I want to know more. I want to know the next time a band's playing because I want to be in the audience over here.
Yeah, we're on Facebook. You can look for Schwonk Soundstead. That's spelled SCHWONK. We have a website, but I don't think I've paid for the URL, so it's probably a long Wix URL. But if you look for Schwonk, SCHWONK Studio, or Schwonk Soundstead, we got the lock on that word. It's a pretty strange one. I think the only other Schwonk out there is a maybe obscure reference to one of the Mario Brothers levels.
Okay.
Nintendo 64, but that's it. I think there's a Schwonk Castle, but this is also a Schwonk
Castle.
Castle.
That's true. Schwonk sounds like what one of the power droids would make. Schwonk.
Yeah, that, and it kind of, with the alliteration and when I came up with it, I don't know if I was on a Willy Wonka vibe or something, but
I can see that.
Create a mystique. It's like, some unexplained things happen here, and I'm not exactly fully responsible for it, but I'm a facilitator, kind of like Willy Wonka.
It's a good way to put it. Well, Brendan, thank you so much for letting us into your home, getting to share this. People have seemed to really enjoy this. So, if you're still watching or you watch this on the repeat, throw out a thanks, give them a like and a follow over there to see what's going on. And, thank you so much for doing a really cool cultural thing in the town, and then also keeping a historic building, involved. I'm obviously a big advocate for. I feel like the Lorax for old houses sometimes, saying, somebody's got to speak for them. But it's great when those can be reused, and this is, I think, a grade A, example of
They don't make them how they don't make them like
they
used
don't
to.
make them like they used to. That's absolutely true. So check them out. You can find out more about all of this this cool stuff that we got to tour and see, and hopefully you can find yourself here the not too distant future, maybe rocking out.
I think we officially reopen.
That is yeah, not too far off. So again, thanks everyone for coming along and coming with us. Give them a like and a follow, and we'll catch you. This is some history that's like literally in some people's backyard. So check it out. We'll catch you all on the flip side. Take care.